Hey friends, recently I had the opportunity to sit down with some of our female students to talk about their experience as a woman in Jiu-Jitsu, and I wanted to share part of that conversation with you in this video. If you want to see the whole conversation in its entirety, I'll include a link to another video in the description below. Otherwise, sit back, relax, and enjoy the chat. What sparked your interest in Jiu-Jitsu and how'd you hear about it? Who invited you? What were your first impressions?
Actually, Kellen's little brother passed away, and you hosted that like open mat sort of thing for Nico, the role. And I had very little experience. I had done a few things for sure, but it wasn't like a big part of my life. And then we did that, and it kind of just changed for me to actually see some of the things that I was capable of doing. It mostly just came out of wanting to spend time with my husband, and then just continuing on with that, and then really learning my capabilities, like that I was able to do certain things that he was able to do. And that was really cool.
So I have a boxing background predominantly, and it was actually one of my boxing friends that went there for a little bit, and he invited me, and then he ended up not staying, which whatever, but I stayed.
But you stayed.
It was something, a different level of challenge, because with boxing you have different combinations and different things, but it seemed like I was at a steady place, and I couldn't really get that mental power breakthrough that I was really craving. But the challenge of jiu-jitsu, it's what made me stick around, and how it has continued to impact my life on and off the mats. It's been amazing.
I don't know. I didn't want to do it at all.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I had no interest at all.
Wow.
A friend obviously got me in there. Hated it. I went to one class and I was like, I'm not going. And I just went to the gym to do a workout, and I walked by the room, and Raiden actually saw me. He's like, "Oh, you're coming to class." I was like, no, no, I'm not. And then after like 10 minutes of convincing, I was like, okay, fine, I'll try it one more time. And again, I hated it. I was like, I'm not doing this. And I think I hated it because I was uncomfortable and I wasn't good at it. I like being good at things. I was so out of my comfort zone. I was like, I hate this. And then he's like, just come 5 more times. Then if you don't like it, don't ever come again. And I was like, perfect. And here I am almost 2 years later.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm addicted now, and it's such a good challenge. And it's awesome.
Wow. See, I would have never known that. I would have never known that about you.
yeah.
Like, you have such a good poker face. Like,
Oh, no.
it seemed to me like from day one that you were just having the time of your life. And,
Yeah, not at all.
Wow.
Yeah. But obviously now I'm addicted and I love it and wouldn't give it up for the world. But
Cool. Well, we're glad that you are. Yeah. I believe that every woman needs at least some jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And we live in a big, kind of scary, dark world. And even though more women train now than ever, perhaps there's some things at the academy that we're already doing well, or maybe some things that we could do better. And, maybe there's somebody who stumbles into this podcast and says, what are the things that we can do? What can I do? So how can we make the academy a safe and attractive place for women? And if it's something that we're already doing that kind of stands out to you, I would love to hear that as well. Like some of the things that we might be doing right, and perhaps some of the things that we might need to add to make it that way.
I think one of the biggest impacts that I've seen is the professorship and just the culture in general, the other people having conversations with newer people that, hey, this is not a dating scene. These women are here to learn to protect themselves and to grow, and this is not where you ask them out on a date or, make them feel uncomfortable. So I think that just the general comfort level for newer women coming in is really good.
It is very inviting, and it's safe. And I think one of the big things that made me super attracted to it is there's been different times where we're going over technique or something, and it's like, if you're doing this in a tournament, this is what you do. But if you're self-defense, this is how you apply it in the streets. And to me, that was really helpful, and it gave me a lot of confidence. I mean, I have 2 young boys, so it helped me feel safer being able to go with them. And I don't know, late at night, if we're leaving somewhere, like I don't have to always be looking over my shoulder. Also, when we have somebody that comes in, maybe they have a hurt shoulder or whatever. I mean, it's always what they're able to do. I don't feel bad if I have to do girl push-ups or, whatever the case may be.
Right.
It's very non-judgmental. And if there were anybody that I didn't feel comfortable going with, which that's not a thing, and I've never had that. But I know it's been expressed multiple times. Like if that's ever a thing, let a coach know, let a professor know, and it will be taken care of.
I feel like a lot of it, like for me personally, like coming from I had no interest in jiu-jitsu and it terrified me. I think talking and meeting other women in there and hearing these stories honestly gave me the most confidence, because at the end of the day, like nothing about that was going to make me go into that room. Like the inviting atmosphere, if I wasn't going to go, I wasn't going to go. But hearing these stories like and experiences, I'm like, okay, these other women went through it. This is going to be okay, and then like I went through things. Like there was a point in time where one of the guys was aggressive with me and I hurt my back, and then but it was so awesome because everyone in there was so on board. Like the person was talked to. I felt safe. Since that one time, I've never ever felt like that again. Or, and if I was in a position, like I would remove myself from rolling with a certain person. So I know, I think it comes from like experiences and talking with people, but a lot of that's got to come from within to get you in that room too.
So at one point you had asked, or we had discussed, there were some women in there that weren't quite ready for the co-ed, but they wanted to be in those co-ed fundamental classes. They just didn't really want to work with men. And I totally understand that. And at the time we had such a huge growth to the academy. You had asked the upper belts to not join those fundies classes, which is totally understandable at that point in time. But I had a couple of women that were like, well, I really want to go. And I wasn't necessarily qualified as a blue belt at the time. I wasn't supposed to go. And so I had asked, and you were like, okay, well, no, like you don't have to ask. If there's a woman in there that needs a partner, be there for them. And I was like, okay, sweet. And so I think that made it really good for a lot of ladies. Just make sure that, you have those women that are regularly attending and let them know that like, hey, we need you. Or I guess as a woman, being able to reach out to these newer ladies that come in and just say, hey, no matter what it is, I want you to grow in this. So I'm going to be there. I'm going to, text me, share numbers. If you're not on like the messaging app like we are, you can share phone numbers and say, hey, text me if you need a partner and we'll meet up or whatever. So I think that was a super great thing, is just make sure there's ladies there.
That was a challenge for the academy. We had this moment that felt like just total explosive growth, and we're like, we don't know what to do with all these people. Yeah. That was a real challenge, but you ladies really stepped up, and appreciate all the help and all the effort. I know it wasn't easy, and sometimes when you get a lot of explosive growth, you get a lot of rowdy people, both guys and girls. Who, like, we don't have time to develop them in culture, and they just kind of come in just as they are, and we all gotta kind of trust our jiu-jitsu, kind of to bring the environment back down where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But I think once you get established in your training, you realize that you're part of something bigger, that you're part of a brotherhood or a sisterhood, and it feels, I think, the academy feels so much bigger than just me, or like the sum of us. It feels like we're part of something bigger. You guys agree with that?
Yeah.
How does it make you feel to be part of such a close-knit community of like-minded individuals?
I was very welcomed when I first started by the men that were there, and it was really cool to just feel like friends. I mean, Ty is my husband's best friend, even after he moved away and everything. But before that, he was a friend of mine as well. And it was just cool to be able to have these people to rely upon. Raiden was a great friend to me. Now, though, that we've grown this women's culture, some of these ladies have definitely become some of my very best friends, and we've hung out outside of jiu-jitsu, and Becky's hosted fun little tie-dye parties and things like that. but being able to have that connection. There's a connection in jiu-jitsu when you're swapping sweat with somebody, when you're getting that close in somebody's bubble, just being so personal, and really learning new things and all of the things that come along with it. It's so close and so intimate. And you don't really realize that that's happening until you actually walk into the room and you're like, oh, this person is here today. Oh, yes, I'm so excited to see Megan. Like, yay. I also have these ladies for when I'm feeling like super crushed. You walk into the locker room and sometimes it's just been like that really hard day. And it just hurts sometimes. That sisterhood is like needed. So going from not really having that family, those people, to having so many people that I know I can call on a moment's notice for anything, not just jiu-jitsu wise, it's incredible.
I don't think it's so much that all these different people randomly found each other. I feel like we have shaped and grown each other, living by the pillars and just being there for each other and sharing how our day is and other things like that. It's not something that's by chance. It's very much so continuing to evolve over time. And you talked about culture earlier, and I think that's one thing that is very apparent, that we have a set, welcoming way that we view life in general, moral and growth and change, and there's no room for pride. There's no room for ego. It's very humbling to become part of such a supportive family. And it's kind of hard to express in words, but I'd be lost without it 100%.
Yeah.
I definitely, when I walked in there, I wasn't expecting to create the bonds and the friendships that I did with everyone. Like, I've done so many things at the gym, like yoga, CrossFit, everything. You guys do it and then you get on with your day. But in here, like Becky said, everyone's living by the pillars. We're all, for the most part, everyone's living by these certain standards, and we can all relate to each other, and it's just awesome. And we're all super like-minded, which is absolutely insane almost, and we just create these awesome bonds, and that's something I definitely would have never expected. And if you try to explain that to anyone outside of that room, they don't get it. They're like, oh, yeah, but you just can't. You have to be in there. You have to live it. And I think that's so special too, because no one else gets it but us in that room. And it is so amazing.
When I've talked to other individuals in the academy, and they share how it's changed their life, and it's like you connect on a whole different level of, I used to make these choices, or I used to hang out with these people, or this is what we did, but it's like it's not attractive to do anymore. It's just, it's like contagious.
It is.
The vibe is so contagious, and wanting to do better and be better, and I don't know, it's amazing. So
I think jiu-jitsu's made me 100% a better person, and like the people around me making themselves better makes me want to be better. Like, I think a year ago, I had a whole different friend group. My friends were partiers, drinkers, and they're still doing that right now. And I'm sitting down here with my favorite people who are so like-minded, and I could not be more thankful, and I wouldn't want to be literally any other place. So
Becky had said, like, you can't be, you can't have pride and these things. So what occurred to me when you were saying that too is that as women, that we also cannot be vain. And I think that is really, really cool. I grew up as a very vain person, and believe it or not, for these podcasters and people watching this video, I never looked like this. This is like a Sunday thing. So that's it. But like in jiu-jitsu, in the gym, right? Like you walk in there, if I'm wearing this much makeup, I'm going to ruin everybody's gi, and then I have to give them the recipe on how to clean said gi. And so anyways, but that's I think a huge thing. Like there's no vanity. There's no like, oh, I got to make sure my makeup's good. I got to make sure my gi fits well. Nobody looks good in a gi. Like Nobody's butt looks great in a gi. Nobody's waist fits perfectly. Like it just puts you on this level playing field, and I think that's awesome.
If you want to hear the rest of this conversation, make sure to click that link in the description below. As always, thanks for watching. Happy training, and I'll see you on the mats.